Hey everybody, today Anthropic released this new capability within their desktop app. It's called Cowork. And if you're familiar with Claude Code and working with Claude in your desktop, this is really a natural extension. So what I think Anthropic has done is they've provided a surface that allows you to connect Claude to your file system through identifying a folder. So as you work with Claude, you're able to read and write files using this Cowork application. And it was quite often that I would use the Claude desktop app. The problem is that it was not very easy to, let's say, export files to specific folders. There was the file system connector, but that had some kind of limitations. And it's interesting because today I was working on this case, this exact scenario where I had exceeded 50 skills, and I needed to have a way to easily download skills that were in my Claude.ai account and actually store them locally. And so the next question is that how do I know they're in sync and things like that? So what I'm going to show you is really what this surface is. You're able to easily connect all the different applications that you have in Claude. You're able to add files. The key difference is when you're working in Cowork, you're going to have an opportunity to choose a specific folder. And that folder is going to allow Cowork to kind of read and write. So as you're creating assets, you might be creating documents, presentations, and others. You'll have a very easy way to store them to your file system. Now, I'll show you the example that I was doing, which is wanting to know all the skills that are in my Claude.ai account, and are they different from the version that I've stored locally? And as I mentioned, I have exceeded, you can upload 50 skills, but I exceeded that limit today. So I needed to be able to download my skills locally for a couple of reasons. One, so that I have a kind of a library for it, but I also use GitHub to synchronize all my Claude skills to GitHub, which is another topic that maybe we can cover during another session. So I asked it, are there any differences between what's in my Claude.ai account and this local folder? And what the local folder looks like, it's just a folder here, and Claude it's got a skills folder. And this is where Claude will store all your skills if you want to use them locally in Claude Code or locally now, I guess, using Cowork. I'll have to test it out if these actually work, which I think they probably do. So really what I asked it was go into my Cloud account, but also because I've given it access to my working folder, which is this skills folder on my machine, I essentially asked Claude to tell me if there's any differences. And so these are all of the skills that I have. And it basically essentially said, hey, yeah, you've got the same number of skills in both in terms of the folders. But I got it a little bit further because I don't think it exactly knew what I was talking about. And there are some skills that are uploaded just natively into our account in the cloud, and those are the skills for creating Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Excel, and the skill creator skill. And so what it did is that it did identify differences between all of the folders and all the files on my mount, which is the virtual file server in my Claude account. And then it identified the skills that are actually local, the ones that are on my machine. So that is a really good, just this use case to be able to easily find differences of what's in the cloud versus what I have in my local machine. Because one, as I mentioned, I've hit the limit. I'm over 50, but also I'm going to want to use these skills locally, either in Cowork or by Claude Code itself. And then the other thing I did is I asked it, are the actual files different? And it did a check, and it did a content check and said, hey, there's 43 skills that are identical, but there are 7 skills with some minor differences. And those are the ones that are on my local machine, because some of these are the ones that I just can't fit into my Claude.ai account. So this is a really cool feature if you're using using Claude extensively with files on your machine. I think this Cowork application is going to be really, really helpful. And again, I was doing this exact same thing, thinking, how am I going to have an easy way to be able to build skills in Claude, but also save them locally so that I can go over this 50 limit, but also use them in Claude Code as well. So I'm already seeing where I could put this Cowork app really to use. And then we'll look at another, right? There's all of these. This is where you go and choose the folder. And I think this is going to be really handy for any time we're creating new content inside of Claude and we need to save it, and we want to save it to our local folder. So make a prototype, send a message, prep for the day. This is one that I was just curious how it worked. I said, yeah, help me prep for the day. And it says, oh, okay. It asked me a couple questions. And here's the cool thing. Because I use Notion for tracking all my tasks, it automatically knew from memory. It said, hey, I'll go and review your task database. I'll check your content calendar. It asked me if I have an upcoming Maven session tomorrow, which I do. I've got a course that I'm teaching. So it's early days. This thing just came out a couple hours ago, but the ability to use Claude together with all of the assets that we have on our local machine, I think it's going to be a game changer. I've been using Claude Code for this for many months, but Claude Code can be intimidating for a lot of people who are not developers. So right now, this is on the max, kind of the max plan. As I use it, as I find interesting use cases, I'll be sure to post up some follow-up videos. All right. Hope that helps.